Let's focus on the margins. I was just looking at your release. You've explained that there was, some kind of onshore delivery costs. You have commissioned a new facility or one-off costs with regard to your Pune facility. Your margins are down to around 15.3%. There were years in the past where you have done even 22, 23, and 25% as well. Going ahead, what kind of a margin number can we work with?
Hi, Nigel. Good afternoon. So you're right that margins have taken a big hit, particularly in this quarter, and even generally if you look at the last few quarters year over year. And one of the lingering reasons has been that our onshore revenue share has been increasing over last 2 to 3 years in almost 20-25% year-over-year growth. Whereas the offshore revenues have contracted in absolute terms. So if you go, 2-3 years back, they used to be $45 million a quarter, and now they stand at about $39 million. And that was the most profitable piece. The onshore work, because it's in investment phase, it's a little bit drag on the margin due to investments. So because of that mix change, the margin shift has been quite radical over last 2-3 years. In addition to that, I think this quarter is particularly because of, about 5 crores or so of one-off cost, which will last in Q4 also, but from Q1 they should disappear.
So they'll disappear. So, Rohitash, if you could give us a broad outlook. By quarter one of the next year, that's the next financial year, June-ended quarter, what kind of margin number should we look at? There is pain in quarter three. Quarter four, you're saying that could be some more pain. Then what's the margin number we work with? A 300 basis points expansion from this 15%, closer towards 20%. Is that a number we can work with?
So I think if you look at Q2 or Q1, there was obviously no impact of this particular one-off at that point of time, right? So I think that could be the base, excluding the one-off. And on that, I think one has to bake in the offshore revenue growth, which is little uncertain at this point of time. So once that picks up, I think we should be up from Q2 absolute margin levels.
Okay, any number you want to put in?
No, I would refrain from putting a number. As I said, the dependency is primarily on offshore absolute revenue growth. Okay. And remember, in Q1, the wage impacts will also come in.
Sure. Oh. Okay, can you talk about the stress that you're seeing in any of your clients and how long do you think it will linger on?
So in terms of large clients I'm defining as top 10, we don't see any particular material stress at this time. However, in a few clients which are just outside top 10, we did see some negative impact where those clients were acquired by larger companies and which set their direction of strategic direction changed. And that is impacting us. But I think that should also be largely over by Q4, that impact.
Okay, the other point that you spoke about was how your revenue mix changed. The move from offshore to onshore is also impacting your margins. Now, currently, onshore revenue mix is about 23%. It was about 17% a couple of quarters ago. From here on, given the business environment, how much do you think this onshore revenue mix could go up from the current 23%?
In near term, we don't anticipate it to cross 25% because there has been, some green shoots of offshore revenue growth as well, where we bagged one of our larger deals offshore. So I think both revenues should grow in tandem from here on, whereby the mix of onshore should not cross the current levels, or let's say 25%.
Okay, so that'll be good news for your margins as you've been explaining to us. But in terms of offshore revenues, if I got that number right, you said that you were doing around $45 million on a quarterly basis. That's down to around $39 million. Is there a downside risk to that as well? Or $39 million, you'll at least continue at that sort of a pace with some kind of growth?
So if you look just last 2 to 3 quarters, we have been about that mark. So it's reasonably flattish. I don't see any further downside to that absolute number.
Okay. All right. Just one more question. Cash in the book, 720 crores. That's about 190 rupees of your share price. What plans with respect to utilization? Would you look to utilize it a little different, up your dividend payout ratio?
So if you look at last 3 years, we have been distributing about 55% of our net operating cash flow as well as the operating margin. And we think that we will maintain that using a mix of the two instruments that we have used in the past, which are dividends and buybacks.